Peace. Power.
This is the Dope Ones podcast. The Dope Ones. The Dope Ones.
Peace, power. What's good? You're now tapped in to the Dope Ones podcast, a part of the Be Heard podcast platform. I am Don is Dope, creator of the Dope Ones, and we back, coming to you from Sacramento, California. You can follow me at Don is Dope on IG. You can follow the brand at Dope Ones Official. Follow the Be Heard podcast platform at Be Heard Podcast. And check us out, man, www.thedopeones.com. I'm very, very excited about my guest, man. He's absolutely, a light in these dark times. He needs no introduction. I mean, you've seen him on The Breakfast Club. You've seen him on Sway in the Morning. You might have caught him on tour before, the world closed, before the pandemic hit. He is an entrepreneur. He is a veteran. He's a motivational speaker, a philanthropist, and an author. He is the founder of the Thousand Kings Foundation. He has a social media presence that reaches more than 600,000 people daily. But I knew him before all of that. Before all of that, he was my brother. But you might know him as the Heart Healer. We got my brother, Rob Hill Sr., joining us on the Dope Ones podcast today. It's good to see you, my brother. Appreciate
What's going on, Don?
How's everything?
Oh, man, I cannot complain. I'm out here on this West Coast, soaking up some of this Cali sun
Yes,
and
sir.
opportunity, much like you've been doing for the last few years. How's everything your way?
Everything is good, man. I'm blessed, man, despite this crazy world we living in right now, man.
Yeah, bless him.
Yeah, man. But I just really wanted to talk to you, man. It's just, it's crazy how long, we've known each other, how much work we've done. And I mean, your personal growth over that period of time, like just seeing you do, amazing things in the span of 10 years we've known each other?
Yes, sir.
Crazy, bro. When we linked, you were doing 1,000 Kings. And, you were on your path, but tell us about, coming out of the service and then getting into, what you're doing right now.
Oh, well. So I started writing when I was younger, right? I helped sell my first book back in 1996 when my mom was a self-published author. And we were at the LA Convention Center.
Okay.
So that was like my first experience in writing, publishing, ever knowing an author, any of that. Fast forward, living my life, go to 11 schools. Before 12th grade, I go to Norfolk State right after high school. And then I kind of
NSU.
Yeah, then I kind of pivot from there into the Navy, and I become a father. And from there, I served 4 years. I was did a couple deployments on the U.S. Dwight D. Eisenhower. And then from there,
appreciate your service, bro.
No, of course. Thank you, brother. And I separated in 2012. My last 2 years in the Navy were really largely spent focusing on what I would be doing after, right? I knew that I did not want to enlist, or I didn't want to have to, right? But I knew that in order for me not to do that, I would have to put a better option on my table. So I started writing, and I ended up publishing my first book about 6 months before I separated from the Navy. And from there, I got out in about April of 2012. I published my second book in June. And then fast forward to about 6 months later, that's probably when I contacted you about the Thousand Kings War. So after I published my second book, it was just very important for me to figure out some type of, I don't want to say give back, but some type of community service type element. And I had always been a big fan of the Million Man March back in the day when Minister Farrakhan organized it. And there was this awesome movie, Get on the Bus, and Cedric the Entertainer was in it, and it was hilarious. They did Shibuya Roll Call. It was so colorful.
Bernie Mac was in that too. A lot of people don't know Bernie Mac was in that.
Exactly. But I didn't have an actual man in my life that could take me to the event, you know, and I always remember feeling like I wanted to go. I wanted to be there. So I wanted to do something that kind of represented those same models, which was improving ourselves, impacting our community, influencing the youth to reach higher. And then bigger than that, loving one another. You know, how we treat each other on a day-to-day basis is so integral to, you know, how the hell we're going to move forward in life. You know, like it's going to be extremely hard to move forward in unison with harmony, without love, without that element. Beyond that, that Thousand King Walk was a chance for me to do some collective fundraising. So we raised about $10,000, probably a little bit just about over that. And we donated that to 10 separate youth. We picked young men between ages of 12 and 17. We had about 5,000 plus people at the event. And what we wanted to do was just fundamentally, we wanted to demonstrate how impactful we are and the power that we all have when we come together. But beyond that, we wanted to invest in the future. And I think that those are, you know, two things that I'm still actively doing to this day. But your flyer definitely helped us drive the message home. You gave us a crown, and you had so much symbolism within the crown, every type of word, from leadership to character to integrity to honor to trust.
That was fun to work on.
Yeah, that flyer essentially just helped us circulate the event much more. And from there, you know, it's just been full steam ahead.
Man, full steam ahead is an understatement, dude. Like, you in the moon and stars and beyond now, man. You know, like, I'm so proud of where you are now. But I knew back then, man, no cap, I knew you were different. Like, at that point, I don't know, I had been doing like freelance design work maybe 4 or 5 years up until that point, but no one had approached me with a project like that. And that was always something I'm like, you know, I would love to do something, you know, even remotely, you know, related to something community, because I'm the same way. Like, I want to do something like that with my platform now, like something community oriented, even though it's harder now with the pandemic. But I knew then, like, you were different. You were a different dude, and you were moving different.
Man, I was trying to move with purpose. That's it. Just trying to move with some purpose, you know, trying to align with the right people, and just trusting that, you know, the allies and people like yourself would come on my path, you know, along the way. And it's really been a blessing, man. It's really been a blessing.
Absolutely, man. And then just all the work we've done since then, man. All the
Exactly. If I don't contact you for that flyer, we wouldn't have started on any of the book covers, right?
Right, man. And the books, man. Talk, like, dude, you put out how many books now? Where are you at now?
So I have 6 print books and 2 published audio works. So eight total.
Okay. And the latest being probably one of my favorite, other than Truth.
Yeah. Designed by Donna's Dope, my man Donnie Ramsey.
Absolutely. We're gonna get into that in a minute, man. But just tell us, like, when you kind of knew that you had people's attention. Like, at what point did you know Rob Hossein is like a big deal? You know what I'm saying? Don't be modest.
I'm still trying to earn people's attention.
Oh, come on.
I promise you, I'm still doing that.
I love the humility, brother, but come on.
But I think that I started seeing my work circulate a lot more in about 2013. So this is 2 years from my first book, but I released a third book in 2013. So I released a book in 2011, 2012, and then I followed up with a third one in 2013. And I started seeing people like Hilary Swank interact with my work. People like Diddy interact with my work. People like Drake was following, Rihanna was following. And these are people who, you can't miss, right? These are superstars or rock stars in their own right. And Hillary, she won an Academy Award when she was like 19,
Yeah.
right? So these are people who have excelled in their particular professions, but here they were using my work to communicate whatever it is they were feeling in the moment, or just using my work to communicate a positive message or encouraging thing. And it started feeling like, okay, I can do this and be visible. I had been writing. I created my first blog in like 2005, well
Yeah.
before I ever published a book. So I've been writing and publishing works, but I would be lucky to get a comment, right?
Humble
And
beginnings.
there were very, very few ways to share things as efficiently as there are now.
Hmm.
So I would be, 10 times as lucky to get a share or get somebody referring or talking about it. So now, I think that 2001, it really started an uptick. I'll say that.
Okay.
Excuse me, 2013. That was the uptick.
2013.
That was the uptick. Yeah.
So true. And I mean, like that's validation. I mean, honestly, when you get those names and those figures and those
Yeah.
people to retweet or to interact with you, but I know that's not what you went it for. I know you were never in it for the validation,
Right.
which is honest, coming purely from your soul, and that's why it
Yeah.
resonates because
Yeah.
that was never your intention. I know that about you. You know what I
It's
mean?
a beautiful thing to attract that,
Yes.
but it was I was writing for me in the beginning,
Yeah.
and the idea that these words that were meant to help and support me in my difficult times are now, tools in other people's lives. It's like, man, no, let's not run from that. Let's run towards
Right.
that. And that's really that was my attitude.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. Just to pivot a little bit, man. I know you're a dad. I'm a dad. I know your young king is the center of your whole world.
Yes, sir.
And what I love to ask Black fathers is, how your seeds sort of shape your, your drive and,
Mm-hmm.
your journey. How was being a dad, how's being a father shape your path and your journey?
Well, I think the biggest thing is probably like my self-love journey. I'm not sure if I deem myself worthy of love, prior to being a father, but I know I am now, right? I'm not sure that I deemed even my time as valuable as I did prior to being a father, but I know how valuable the minutes are now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I value my word as much before being a father, but kids don't forget, and you don't want to be letting them down when you make a
Mhm.
promise, right? I think that fatherhood improved my character. It was a boost in my integrity, but it really, 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 really cemented my understanding of legacy. I had not given much thought to what I would leave behind, or the way my words would impact people, or the way my actions
Mhm.
would influence others. But as a father, I became very, very, very conscious of those things.
Mhm.
And I think it was just understanding that he was going to do what he saw me do, not what he heard me say. Right. And it was going to have to be a very deliberate example and consistent. And these were things that I didn't feel like I was necessarily offered much in my life. I had a stepfather later on in life as my
Mhm.
mother remarried, but my relationship with my biological father was distant, as I like to say.
Mhm.
So, I was trying a lot of things, but one thing I knew I needed to be was smarter. So my son's life helped me commit to being a reader, like a true information gatherer. And I think that has helped me father better, but also just operate as a person better in his life. My son, he's he's a life changer, just other than the fact that he helped impact me in the way he did. Just because I would think like maybe I had to give you something or do something for you to earn your love before.
Mhm.
And now I know that I just deserve it just because I am. And it's not about what we do for people that gives us our value. It's literally just the fact that we are the people we are. Now, granted, transactions can increase value and exchanges of trades, that's all. But it's like I want people to just see Robert, you know, and ultimately to love that person for who he is. And then, oh, he offers these things. Great. Now they appreciate these things as an extension of seeing me. Right. And that's all.
Man, you said a word right there, brother. Like that's huge. Like that's, I mean, that's huge, bro. Like for your child to come into this world and then ultimately define you, like give you a sense of purpose, right?
Yes. Yep.
More so than you felt prior to. I mean, what's more, important than that, man?
Exactly.
That gives me a lot of insight into your wisdom, because I'm like, wow, like Rob's such a wise dude. Like,
Thank you.
just,
Thank
it's amazing to see everything that you encompass in your body of work. I mean, in such a short amount of time, for real, like you just getting started,
you.
honestly.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Getting started, you just scratching the surface. So it's amazing, and I see the relationship that you have with your son, and it's beautiful. And the self-love thing is such an important and not talked about enough, especially in our community, in the Black and brown community. Self-love, it's just not harped on enough, which is another reason why I admire you so much. You know what I mean? Because like love is like, it's your medium. And especially as men, I don't like to use the term like hyper masculinity, but we tend to just kind of shun love, even the self-love, you know what I mean? Or try to find it in other people or other places, but never within us.
Right.
And that's a core concept as far as, what you're about and what you embody. And I think that's amazing that you use that as your medium and you don't stray away from that. Like it's very consistent, bro. And that's why you connect with so many people, bro. Like that's really why I feel like you've connected for this long. You know what I mean? And
well, the key is to know who you're talking to, and you got to understand your audience. And I think for me is knowing what I needed, knowing what I wanted to hear, and then trying to service that consistently and repeatedly. Love is vast, from romance to love for family to love for career, and it just is love for race and love for nationality, and it's so many different ways to express it. So my goal is to create the language. I find that it's much easier to talk about what you feel when you know how to express it succinctly. A lot of people don't like to have conversations because they're like, I don't know how to say what I really feel. I was trying to say it, but that didn't come out right. I was trying to say it, but then I said this, and then now the person's angry at me because I can't say it. And it's like, how can I feed that need? How can I provide some tools or some resources out there to help people navigate these conversations where they're trying to say, hey, this is how I feel. This is what I think. This is who I am. This is what I believe. Can you make room for that? Right. And ultimately, that's all I'm trying to do, man. And there is, to me, like they say, is I guess 1,000 ways to skin a cat, or 1,000 ways to die, or, like there's more than one way to arrive at what I think is most important, which is a point of self-awareness, right? The point where you know who you are and you can't be tricked out of who you are. And you can't be pressured out of who you are, right? You've accepted yourself, and you've accepted the things that are going on in the world and around you and within you as things that are just what they are,
Yeah.
But these aren't things that are intended to break you, because what you are is a spiritual being walking a human journey. You can't be broken. The most you can do is be graduated and passed on to something that is much better than this experience that we currently know.
Right. And speaking of which, I mean, this experience that we're currently faced with is, I'm at a loss for words, honestly.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a time when we need self-love and healing the most. Like this is a really pivotal juncture in history.
Yes, sir.
Being that love is your platform, and self-worth and self-actualization, I gotta ask you, bro, have like the recent events, like with the countless number of Black people we've seen murdered by police, and just all of the racial injustice and strife that we are witnessing now. Has it ever, I mean, I'm sure it has personally, but on a public platform, have you felt compelled to speak on it and use your platform to talk about it more?
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken on Sandra Bann, Trayvon Martin, the count. I don't even want to name them as if
Right.
they're just some notches in my. Yeah, I said something about a career. I had a pivotal thing change me, man. I served. It was about 2014, 2015. I'm not sure. But I was on a panel with Trayvon Martin's dad, and it was myself, Michael Eric Dyson, Mark Lamont Hill, and a few other individuals. And, you know, it wasn't lost on me that he had to lose his son to be sitting there
Right.
beside us. And it stopped being something to just talk about, right? And there's specific actions that need to be done, you know? So what I've tried to do is make sure the economic side of my business and, you know, my family's brand is set so we can start hiring Black designers, working with Black editors, working with Black lawyers, you know, ultimately boosting the entrepreneurship economy out here, you know? But to just relate to this current climate and the point of view of speaking out or using a platform, right? You know, the Hebrew word for church was community, right? And we all are members of this collective community. So when we talk about speaking out, yes, it's in my daily conversation amongst my friends. It is amongst the conversation with my family. Beyond that, it is even in the conversation in my writing boot camp class, right? And of course, you know, you share and amplify on social media. But bigger than that, I'm tired of talking, Don. I'm not one of those people who can repeatedly talk about these issues without being tense. I'm not one of these people who can repeatedly see these videos. I can't share them with a clear conscience. I can't share them unless I knew I was about to go outside and do something in that moment. And in a sense where I've, you know, I set up a walk, I've joined protests, I did marches. However, you know, my blood is boiling from a more effective point of view at this point. And I'm not saying that these things have been ineffective, so I won't use that word, but it's just, I need a new course of action, right? And I need some very, you know, specific demands. And I'm glad that we have, you know, former Vice President Joe Biden and Kamala trying to come up with a new direction for this company. Excuse me, for this country. Look at me, I'm calling it a company, but it basically runs like one, right? But for this country, right? And it's not to say that these two individuals are the saviors, but it's just to say that these two people have an ounce of empathy, whereas the person currently in office, you know, has decided that people don't matter, right? So when I think about this, you know, I'm torn sometimes on what to say, but I know the most important things are what I do, right? Is, am I amplifying women? Am I protecting them? Am I having conversations? Am I listening? Am I, you know, then conveying certain responsible information to my peers, to my boys, to the people who I normally brush shoulders with and talk to, right? I just try to think about it as what am I doing? Because we're beyond a talking point. There is no sentence that I can write to tell people that this stuff is wrong. There's what can I write that James Baldwin did not say, that Langston Hughes did not, that these that, you know, Toni Morrison did not speak, that Sonia Sanchez didn't speak, that we have countless voices who
and
have
all of
talked
it still
about
resonates today.
Exactly, who have talked about this this sickness that we know as white supremacy and how it affects people in the world, right? So I'm beyond sweet sentences. I will not write you a poem for the murder of a Black man. I will fight you before I write you a poem. I will shoot back at you before I write you a poem. I will not be that person. Now, granted, I may write a poem later after I've had some time to reflect, but I
Hmm.
don't write about things in the moment. I deal with things in the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah. And
You
that
know,
was my
so
follow-up
yeah,
to that, was about solutions. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Just to go back, when you mentioned about being on the panel with Trayvon's dad, I remember that. I think you posted about that. I remember that.
yeah.
And yes, as a person with a platform with a vast amount of followers, I mean, your voice makes an impact, you know what I mean? But
Thank you.
I absolutely unequivocally agree with you that there's no more talking. It's time for real solutions.
That's it.
You know
Meet
what I
me in
mean?
the center of the ring. Let's talk
Exactly.
about. Let's figure this out. You know, but
Exactly.
I don't want to talk in circles because
Yeah.
there's been legislator. You know that
Yeah.
there's been proposed acts and bills and all types of reform and all of these things, but it's not stopping. It has to be deeper than that, right? So I don't have the sentences for that conversation,
No, I
right? I'm
feel
down
you.
the ride. Obviously, I was in the military,
Yeah.
right? And I served to support a war against people I don't even know,
Right.
you know? So I'm damn sure gonna fight for Black people.
Absolutely, absolutely, bro. And I already know how passionate you are, but I also
Yeah.
know that it's tricky now because the rhetoric, it becomes redundant after a while.
Hmm.
I totally
Hmm.
understand that, and I'm
Yeah.
with you
You
120%.
just become one of those people echoing things,
Yeah,
and it's like you're confusing that with actually moving it forward. And I
yeah,
just don't want to do that. I just don't want to
yes,
do that.
yes. No, I definitely hear you on that, brother. I hear you on that. It's just such a, it's such confusing times too, because I feel like the infrastructure that we're currently living in it's not going to change with this administration, with the next administration, I should say.
Hmm. Hmm.
However, one of the places that I do feel strongly now more than ever before where we affect real change is voting.
Yes.
And we haven't we I mean, we were kind of spoiled with Obama, you know what I mean? We just went out and voted for him. We knew he was qualified, we knew he was great, we knew he was a leader, but did we really know, his platform? Did we really know his agenda? You know what I mean? Now we need to know, but we need to
Hmm.
not only know the presidential elect's agenda, we need to know our local. We need
Yes.
to know our local. We need to go to these town halls and city halls and get to know who's locally making laws and policies,
Yes,
because
sir.
that's one place where real change starts. And I've never been more adamant about that in my life because, like you said, like it's time to turn up. Like
Yeah.
it's time to hit the streets. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? But how effective is that when they killing Black men in cold blood in the
Exactly.
streets? So we
Exactly.
have to have a more tactical approach. We have to have a more methodical, laid out, organized approach. But
Yeah.
it does have to be action at this point. You're
It
absolutely
has to be, and it can't be like, oh, that's not possible, or oh, that's not how it works. That's how it's gonna work moving forward.
right.
And if it's not, it's just not gonna work anymore.
It's just not gonna
You
work.
know,
It's
it just can't continue though. We just
Yeah.
can't continue. Oh, let's just push it forward. Where nobody's happy, nobody's satisfied. Let's just push it forward. Let's not ask any questions. Let's not make any demands. Let's not stand. No, we have to stand on something. And after a while, if you keep letting somebody abuse you like that, they're only going to think that they're supposed to. Like I can't allow it. I
Like
can't.
Malcolm X said, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Yeah,
You gotta
yeah,
stand on something.
yeah. So
Absolutely.
that's the times we are, and I call
Yes,
people to
sir.
do that, and that was a part of, the reason for the Thousand Kings March. I went to a lot of group homes and a lot of jails in the campaign to actually let people know what we were doing,
Mm-hmm.
and all of the people look like me.
Mm-hmm.
All of those group homes, all of those jails, all of those alternative schools,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like it's no coincidence that I was the first author they met, right? That angered me a little bit,
Yeah.
but it's like this thing has been set up in a way that needs to be completely dismantled and rebuilt.
Destroy and
And
rebuild.
I don't think reform changes things because you're just reforming something that was already poisonous,
Yes.
right? So you're just gonna end up with another hazmat situation. I think that we need to completely redo and try to govern in real time. We don't need to be trying to govern according to and document that is not inclusive of all the people that was supposed to be here in the first place.
Right.
You know, the document that we're very much trying to govern on keeps us in this 3/5 position, keeps us in a disenfranchised state, and the whole system is set up to continue those things. And whether people currently in these positions of power deliberately did it, granted, I know you didn't write it. I know that you benefit from it, and I know that you know you benefit from it. And I know that you're also aware that my people feel preyed upon as a result of it. And I know that you go to work and you don't do anything new. So I need to start affecting your ability to go to work.
Exactly. And so it's so much like you were saying earlier about having, you know, your brand and your family's financial state where it needs to be. That's also a place where we need to have equal footing financially, you know, financial freedom, financial literacy. You know,
a man can't keep a family without some type of resources.
No, absolutely.
Right. And if you can't, you're definitely not going to have a business, and you're definitely not going to be able to then pick leadership, right? Because leadership is going to reflect the business owners or the things that are trying to happen, right? So you got to get in some type of economic state to have your voice be heard.
Yes. 100%, bro. And that's another thing that we need to continue to harp on, you know, financial literacy, you know, entrepreneurship.
Group economics,
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, again, everything that your brand encompasses, that's in it. The entrepreneurial side is in it too, as well as the literary side. And those two are key components to elevating from this place, because no one's going to fix it for us. We have to do it for ourselves, within ourselves, you know. And what 100%. I love, one great thing about what's happened just with everything that's going on since 2020 started is that Black businesses are getting a major push, at least on social media. And there's been, you know, a lot of Black businesses that are circulating that you would have otherwise not even heard about, or you know, wouldn't have had a platform, unfortunately, without these things taking place in our society. So that's something that, you know, that's another reason why I wanted to have you on, because you have that perspective as well. You know what I mean? I remember when, you know, you were selling your prints and you were starting to get into merch. And I remember when you told me about it, I was like, wow, you know, like it's just something that wasn't even on my mind. I was just an artist. I was just behind a computer. I wasn't really even thinking about selling commerce. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I was like, man, you know, Rob's, you know, he's ahead of the curve. And this was like before Shopify really hit big. And you know what I'm saying? Like that whole thing took off. So, I mean, I love that you have that as a core, like, staple in your brand is entrepreneurship, because it's something that we need more push, more emphasis on. You know,
for sure. That's something that, it's much like you. I see you have nip on the shirt. It's like he knew the formula too.
He knew the blueprint.
Whatever it is, you gotta invest in it, and you gotta continue pushing it, and you gotta live by it. And you can't just have these throw at the wall, hope they stick type things. You gotta have stuff that's true to your core, you know, because ultimately people buy into people. They don't buy into the other stuff, you know.
Exactly. You got, and that's what resonates about creatives and artists who are honest. That's exactly what resonates. So look, bro, I know you pressed for time, my brother. Just real quick before I let you go, man, I wanted to ask you, it's kind of a two-part question. And I definitely don't want to get too personal. I definitely, you know, just want to kind of understand how you navigate being in the public eye, number one. And number two, like, do you feel like the pressures of okay, the Will and Jada thing that just happened, right? Like I was really on the fence about that, even though I love them. I love their brand. I love their family, always have supported them. But I just felt like what happened with the whole fallout should have happened behind closed doors. Like that conversation should have happened behind closed doors, right? And I mean, you've had to deal with things on a public level. I mean, do you feel like that's something that unfairly is placed upon you? Like, just like, for example, me asking you, you know, has what's going on recently affected, you know, your ability to speak on certain things? Like, do you feel like the pressures of being Rob Hill Sr. from the public is something that comes with the territory, or is it just something that we need to, like, it's a toxic sort of culture that we need to not harp on so much? You know what I'm saying? Like,
There's
how
a
do you feel about that?
there's a balance to it all, you know. I think that people are gonna have interest in other people's business since the game of telephone was created, and you know what I mean, like
Right.
just the history of people having other business, right?
Right.
Um, I don't I don't feel pressure today to um, to be a certain way, right?
Mhm.
I feel like I get the opportunity to be myself, and I
Mhm.
can offer this to those who like it, right?
Mhm.
Outside of that, it's like there always gonna be those people who don't like it, right?
Mhm.
And I gotta give them space too, you know. But
Mhm.
when it comes to like the relationship side, it's private for me because my life is private. It's
Right.
private for me because the way I raise my son is private,
Absolutely.
right? I read an article that said the average parent shares about 10,000 photos of their kid before their kid turns 18. It's like, we don't need to be showing that many angles of him before he gets to decide what he wants the world to see himself. You
Facts.
know, I don't need to be trying to record his childhood. This is his only childhood,
Yeah.
right?
I
Let
mean,
him
if
live
anything,
it.
record it for you, for your personal
Yeah,
archive.
let them live it, right? So
Yeah.
my life is personal in the sense that I'm still learning how to live it. I'm still learning how to be me. You know, I'm
100%.
still figuring out what I want and what I don't want.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, it would only be pressure if I didn't feel like people were rooting for me. And I feel like people are rooting for me, much like they're rooting for their own love lives to work out. You
Yes.
know, I think that they hope that, hey, you know, things work out for me. And then so far it's been great, you know, but it's not like, it's not some burden to be a perfect lover, to have a perfect relationship. That's for people who don't read my work, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's for people who don't actually read the sentences. And as far as like even just people's private information getting out publicly, right? It's like, believe me, that Will and Jada would have much rather not have to share or comment or whatever, right? But there are people who have based their whole relationship on Will and Jada having success with them,
Yeah.
right? Not on actually the person in front of them. So, you know, if any celebrity couple can break up and then you lose faith in love, it's like, well, did you really have faith in love?
Right.
Probably not, you
Right.
know? So for me, it's like the idea of it being a pressure state is, I guess, you know, early on, maybe it could have felt like pressure, right? But at that point, I think every man has pressure to pick the right partner.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big determining factor over how your future is going to end up,
Life
the
changing.
partner you choose, you know?
Life
So it's
changing.
like, that's pressure without even having to be anyone. That's
Definitely.
just a part of being a human, right? But when I look at it on a grander scale, and I said like, hey, you know, I write about relationships, I write about you know, themes of giving, sharing, love, anything. If people have questions about, you know, my life and what I'm doing, they're more than welcome to ask,
Yeah.
right? But that doesn't make you entitled to any a certain amount of information. That just means that, hey, I may answer or I may not, right?
Yeah.
But I haven't had any situations where I felt like this is something that I desperately need to hide or don't need to speak about. It's just
Mm-hmm.
um,
Well,
I'm
it looked
figuring it
like
out. I'm a 32-year-old young man, you know.
I'm sorry, my bad. I didn't mean to cut you off, bro.
You
But
good?
it was one thing that prompted me to even ask you that question, because there was a time when it looked like you had a serious problem. I think it was the last time you were on the Breakfast Club.
Listen, you said something was missing. Was it emotional? Was it physical? Was it financial?
You gave Charlemagne a look like, dude, I will steal off on you in this studio right now. I think
Yeah.
in the line of questioning, you know, he was getting personal. He's Charlemagne, you know what I mean?
No, he didn't. He didn't. I mean, if
You know what
he
I'm
was
talking about, though? You know what I'm talking about? The look you gave
I
him?
know I remember the interview, right? But I promise you that look wasn't personal for Charlamagne. It would have been anybody in that instance.
Right.
Right? I think there's this like, oh, he's a writer, he's writing about love. He must be soft. I must be able to say anything. He's like, no, I'll hit you in the mouth, and I don't think I should have to apologize for that because you were the one doing that, right?
Right.
So in that instance with Charlamagne, I think I probably just looked up at him and I just was like, I was probably trying to catch eye contact to see like where he was going.
Yeah.
Like, are you trying to
Yeah.
like, are you going here or are you, and I think he looked down and it kind of was a different tone after that,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like, I wasn't angry at him, so to speak, but it
Right.
was just like, I mean, you gotta talk to me like a man,
Right.
right? But also don't talk to me corny. Like, talk to me like I'm a man who loved and I respect every person I love. Don't talk to me like I'm somebody who's out here just playing. If
And
that
give
makes
you the
sense, right?
same respect. Give you that same respect that you give
Yeah.
everyone else.
And again, I didn't take it as disrespect. I've heard people mention this moment before, so I'm not trying to act like it's nothing, right? But I promise it was just more so like my instinct, like my true like Robert nature. Like, wait, who's? And I just come from a place where it's like you just be ready. Like you just
Yes,
like,
sir. Yes, sir.
was that? So again, he does his job, and I really appreciate them welcoming me on the platform. You know what I mean? Because it's like it's love, for him, Yee, but I don't play that, Don. You know what I mean? Like that's just a natural, like it's just a natural thing. It's like everything's cool above board, but don't, because we men, but we don't play. Don't play.
Bro. I've been meaning to ask you that though, because that was
Yeah.
good, that was
It's
great.
funny, like seriously, a few people from I think my neighborhood asked me about it. I'm like, was you mad? I'm like, nah, I just thought that was the appropriate reaction. Like,
It was though. It was like
I
you
didn't
let
have to
him
say
know.
no words, right?
You
Like,
didn't have to say anything. You
yeah,
didn't have to
it's
say a
just,
thing, and that's what made it powerful. Like he cut it off after that.
I'm like, and I think I might have gestured or something, but it was just, it's a heat check. It's a heat check.
Yes,
That's
sir.
all.
Yes, sir. And sometimes you just got to do that. You got to let them know,
Yeah,
take my kindness for weakness. You know what I'm
it's
saying?
like, we talking about my relationship, my actual life. Like, what's the jokes?
Exactly.
What we playing about? You know what I mean? Like, what we playing about?
Exactly. But real quick, man, I just wanted to get into Hope for Love real quick, man. This is one of my favorite, bro. I really had a good time. I really enjoyed working on this, man. I see the response that you get online from it.
Yes, sir.
Amazing content, bro. I mean, there are countless passages in here that I love, but it's just one I just wanted to speak on real quick and just kind of get your creative kind of commentary on it real quick. Fortitude in the Trenches is probably my favorite, right?
Awesome.
I'm gonna just read it real quick because it's short. Patience pays off. Give it time. Don't move in haste or panic. Stay open and be willing to work. Things will come around. Your outlook attracts certain outcomes. It's all about how you choose to see things. Be careful what you speak over yourself. Your life will go where your words lead it. And that spoke to me, man, because I am absolutely all about what you speak comes into existence. Like that's like pretty much my core philosophy. So just give me a quick, little.
So just the title itself, Fortitude in the Trenches, I think fortitude is the key component to success. It is having mental strength in times of adversity. It is understanding who you are in times where people may be trying to mix you up and confuse you about who you are, right? And then that element of trenches, that's just my Navy or my military bearing, which is the trenches is a dark, maybe rough, maybe muddy, maybe it's not comfortable, right? But you can survive it, right? It's not comfortable, but you can live on and you can get to higher ground, smoother ground, stable ground, but you have to go through,
Yes, sir.
not back. And what you tell yourself on that journey is most important. That's why the last sentence was what it was, because your life is going to go where your words lead it. You tell yourself you're going to fail, you're guaranteed to fail. You tell yourself you're not enough. Nobody's going to love me because of this. Nobody's going to support me when I do this. And guess what? All of those results are going to come true because you say it. This universe, this God that loves us so much is working as a co-creator in this thing. And it is, Jay Electronica has a powerful line. He'd be like, the universe is listening. Be careful what you say in it.
Yep.
You know, and ultimately you got to know that life is responding to the words that come from your mouth, the deep-seated thoughts that you have in your mind. You know, all of this was created out of thought. Absolutely. Right? And ultimately, that's all that one was focusing on. It was focusing your thoughts to have some strength, some balance, some bearing, even in difficult times. And I just don't want people to fold. You know, I always like to say I was taught to strengthen my back, not to complain about the load. And that's what Fortitude in the Trenches is all about, strengthening your back and getting through in a good condition.
Come on, Rob. Come on, brother.
Right.
Hey, man, I truly appreciate your time, my brother. But before you go, real quick, man, I just want you to give some up-and-coming motivational speakers, authors, entrepreneurs, just a word, bro, just a word of advice, you know, based on your experience and your wisdom and knowledge. Just give, you know, young guys coming up, what would you tell them as far as advice?
Well, my one quote that I hope everybody remembers long after I'm gone is just, we're all one choice away from a completely different life. And I have it in my bios, and I kind of keep it there. And that quote is, to me, the best advice I can offer, because people don't realize showing up to that lunch and having that conversation could change your life. Applying to that job could change your life. Leaving that job could change your life. Writing that script could change your life. Taking 2 months and focusing on that book could change your life. J. Cole, one of my favorite rappers, he got a line that said, "Keep grinding, boy, your life could change in 1 year."
Yep.
You know what I mean? And ultimately, the change that happened, the change that we're all desperately seeking, we're one choice away from it. And if we continue to align each one of our choices in a way that aligns with our vision, in a way that aligns with our integrity, in a way that aligns with who we truly are, then ultimately life is going to show us the best fruits that we have available, right? And it's going to bless us in overflow fashions. And that's all I want for people. I want them to be blessed in a way that they don't have to count. I want the abundance to flow in a way that it's not measured, right? You don't think it could even be stolen from you. I want you to have so much love, right? And that's really all it is.
Yes, sir. Nothing else needs to be said, my brother.
Nah.
Look, man, I appreciate you. You are a king. You are Black excellence defined. I'm always in your corner. I always got your back, my bro. Whatever you need, you already know.
That's vice versa.
I'm there. I appreciate you coming on and blessing me and my listeners with your wisdom and your genuine fervor for what you do. And what you do is important, Rob. What you do is crucial. Keep going, my brother. Keep continuing. Keep ascending to those new heights and new plateaus, man.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna keep the pen moving, man. Thank you for designing the covers and showing up diligently and with some care and true concern for the project. A lot of my covers have worked because of that process that we go through each time. And you're always thoughtful, always trying to hit it. And I just appreciate you helping me circulate these messages out through the world, because design is a huge part of that, man. So from the t-shirts to the merch, I see your hat, I see the tee, I see you doing it. And it's not a matter of if, but it was when, you know. And I'm glad you chose the perfect time for you, and you moved to the West Coast. And I seen your journey, man. So you big me up during this conversation, but I just wanted to let you know, I wanted to just talk to my boy, you know what I mean? And I appreciate that we can share this out into the world. But man to man, man, I love it. That's why I always ask about the twins, your son, your lady, because it's much bigger than that. And I know who I'm paying every time I send it through, believe me. And I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you for, trusting me with your vision, my bro. I truly do, man. And
Nah, you got it, bro.
Let's
You
keep
got
it
it.
going, my brother. But look, I know you got to get out of here, man. Real quick, just drop your links. Let everyone know where they can connect with Rob Hill Sr.
Oh, awesome. You can check out my bookstore. It's Babu, BABU, co.shop. So that's babuco.shop. And then you also can check me out on all social media platforms, from the Instagrams, the Twitters, the Facebooks, the Tumblrs, YouTube, however you want it. Rob Hill Sr., ROBHILLSR.
My brother, much love. We appreciate you, man. Enjoy the rest of
Happy to be here.
bro. Salute.
Thanks, Don. Appreciate you, brother.
One love, bro. Peace.
Peace. Power.
This is the Dope Ones podcast. The Dope Ones. The Dope Ones.